All right, we got a nice short one for you here. We're going to talk about policy and procedure. So this is something that if we've ever had a job, or maybe even if we have not had a job, we're probably aware of the ideas of policies and procedures, right? It's kind of something that we've often heard thrown around. So what are policies and procedures, right? So every workplace that you work will have different policies and procedures, and basically this just means policies means rules, right? And procedures means ways to do things. So if you can think of a couple of examples, right? There are rules to make sure that customers and employees all have a great experience. Your boss or manager will help you learn these when you start, and there will always be written versions of them available to you. You'll likely get them when you start a contract, right? And there should be copies in the office readily available for you. So some of the things that we might be talking about are, if you work in a retail scenario, you might be thinking about things like your uniform, right? What you are and are not allowed to wear on the floor in a retail scenario. And this is going to change, right? Think about the difference between if you are working in a Sport Chek versus if you are working in Tip Top Tailors, right? Or if you're working in Old Navy, right? These are all going to be different uniforms. So make sure that you're reading the specific company policy, right, as to what you are allowed or expected to be wearing on the floor to represent your place of business, right? If you are working at Tip Top Tailors and you're wearing a Nike t-shirt, right, that's not really showing what it is that you sell at the store that you're working at. Another one might be cell phone policies, right? Are you allowed to have your cell phone on you when you're on the floor? Are you allowed to have your cell phone out at all during work? Right? Thinking about these things, thinking about lunch times, thinking about break times. These are all workplace policies. And then you'll have procedures. For instance, if there is a sale on something, right? How do you go through that? How do you ring that in to make sure that everything's accounted for? If there is someone who is wanting to make a return with something, right? There's always going to be a process for that. How do you put that back into your inventory? Are you putting it back into your inventory, right? Are you allowed to give someone a cash refund, or do you only get store credit after a certain amount of time, right? So these are all important things to know, and sometimes you will learn them by reading, right? But sometimes you'll also learn them by osmosis, which we talked about with learning skills, right? If you're sitting at a cash register and you see someone take a return, right, then they've been working there for longer than you, you'll be able to learn from that person. Okay, so those are some examples of companies' policies and procedures. Take some time to think about some other ones, maybe in places that you have worked, or places that you were wanting to work, or places that maybe you've seen, on TV, or you've known other people. Think of ones that make a lot of sense. Maybe think of ones that you didn't know if they made a lot of sense. Think about why those would be in place. All right, so that is policy and procedure. Feel free to take a look at the next slide deck and fill out any questionnaires that you need to do. Okay, cheers.